Welcome back to Esoteric Home. I am Jod. It is Monday, May 13th. I hope your week is off to a good start. I hope you all had a great weekend. And tonight, I actually wanted to talk about a book that I've had for about 5 years. And it's one of those books that I've used continuously. And it's also something that I highly recommend for anybody who is just getting started on this path, or if you're a more advanced practitioner. I think it has so much value in it as well. So the book that I'm going to be talking about tonight is Angelic Protection Magic by Ben Woodcroft. Banish curses, negative energy, evil, violence, bad luck, and psychic attack. Who doesn't need that? It is from the Power of Magic Publishing. They are a publisher and an author. This is a publisher and author that I have not talked about before, but I really, really, really love some of their work. This book it's a tiny little book, about 70 pages, but it is packed with very, very, very safe, very effective, and very strong practical magic. Excuse me. So, yeah, I've done a review of the Gallery of Magic, Magical Protection, and this is one of those books that I discovered, like I said, and immediately was drawn to. I mean, you open up the pages, and again, you can feel it. You can feel the care that the authors put into it. You can feel just the power and the effectiveness. So, a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful little manual of protection magic. And for me, on my journey when I started, really protection was kind of foremost and first in my priorities. I had I had a drawing to angels, and so I felt very safe and comfortable working with angels and archangels. So I started there, and I think a lot of people do. Not too many people have a negative connotation or any sort of fear around angels. Now, of course, I don't worship them or bow down to them. I respect them. I honor and revere them. But it's definitely something that I felt 100% congruent working with. So yeah, let's get started. It kind of goes into a little bit about the archangels and the divine names of power that it uses. So gives you a little bit of introduction. Hey, this is all good. This is where I got this magic from. And really the first part is going to be, it's the three main rituals. He calls it the body of protection. And it's, excuse me, the master rituals of protection. The first one is the body of protection. And with this one, basically you're calling on archangels and you're imagining them in the sky, and then they come down and they center themselves in your heart. And it's basically kind of like supercharging your aura. So it's an invocation, if you will. So you're drawing down these mighty archangels, and it's creating this beautiful sphere of protective light in your chest. And it's kind of invoking power, invoking angelic power, invoking divine names. And then the second one is the circle banishing. And this is very similar in a lot of ways to like the LBRP, the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. But he has his own unique way of doing it. And he uses Yohak and Kalak, which are from magical protection as well. But the way that he arranges the archangels around him and the way that he structures the ritual, very unique. The lesser banishing ritual, hey Spirit, that's my dog Spirit coming to say hi. The lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram has, a little bit, it's a little bit more complex. It's a little bit, there's a little bit more technique, and it's a few more steps. This is very, very simple in the way that he does it, and the way that he kind of simplifies the banishing ritual it's a breath of fresh air. So the first part is really invoking these archangels, these angelic forces, and then it's also clearing the space, banishing anything unwanted, anything harmful that you don't want in your presence. So those are the first two. Now the third one is something very, very, very unique. It's something that I think is really valuable to a lot of people who are just doing ritual work in general. It's something that I don't really find to like in another place. It's basically an illumination ritual. So it's designed to brighten your aura, and basically is very useful in the beginning of other ritual work or other magical practices. So it's essentially like on the astral plane, it's increasing the brightness of your aura, which means you'll attract safe, invited spirits. So it's makes it easier to make contact with any other work that you're doing, any other practice. So it definitely is unique. You can use it in all sorts of different ways before other rituals and other systems, before this one, but it's basically almost like turning your what's the word? Turning your light on. You know, it's basically turning your responder on. It's increasing your ability to kind of emit and receive signals. He also says it's easier to notice other spirits. So it's one of those things where it makes you more visible to the spirits that you want to work with. Now, it's not gonna like, you know, it's like on the astral plane, some of these rituals, if you make yourself too bright, you can also attract unwanted attention. And he's designed it in a way that doesn't do it. It only makes you more visible and easier to communicate with spirits, entities that you desire to communicate with, safe, invited beings. So I thought that was very useful because you can just use it in so many different ways. A lot of times when you're doing a magical ritual or you're doing some form of spiritual work, it can occasionally feel like, okay, is this being, are they aware of my presence? Are they listening to me? Some people have trouble kind of perceiving different signs or noticing when there is a transmission. So yeah, it very, very, very valuable, very simple, but it definitely increases the odds of you getting feedback and of you making contact with whoever it is you want to contact. So just that in general, awesome. And then it goes through, you know, some other minor rituals, and these aren't minor, they're more targeted. So they're more for specific situations that you might come across, where the first three, the master rituals of protection, are really kind of the foundational bedrock of the book. And then everything else is, oh, if you have this particular situation, or if you ran into this and you need this particular antidote. So it talks about freezing a curse. You know, if you feel like you have been cursed, if you feel like there is somebody out there with bad intentions, whether consciously or unconsciously directing harmful, chaotic, disturbing stuff your way, it talks about how to freeze the curse. And the way that he kind of goes about it is, it's simple, but it's also designed not to almost let them be aware that you're freezing it. It almost just stops it. So it almost stops it, so it doesn't really notify the other party that, hey, he's sending it back. You know, it's not like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, create a mirror spell or something and then send it back their way, to where it hits them, and then now it's like, oh, you're engaged in this dualistic conflict with somebody. Sometimes it's your own imagination, right? But yeah, so it's a really tactful way of removing the problem just by freezing it, not by sending it back, not by deflecting it somewhere else where it's going to cause anyone else damage, but freezing it. It also has a shield against magic, you know, which is just another useful thing whenever you're doing spiritual work, is to be able to create a shield around you. So this one is very, very powerful. Again, all this magic is really easy to work. It takes very little time, and it's super powerful. So a shield, you know, creating a shield against any sort of influence magic, any sort of manipulation magic, not just outright attacks. To remove entities and attachments. This is huge. A lot of times we have stuff that has attached to our aura or is somehow feeding off our thoughts and emotions that we're not really aware of. And I would say most people walk around with a lot of this stuff kind of involved in their inner world and they don't really notice it, and it's more of a parasitic energy, and it's just something that we weren't really trained on how to notice and remove and stop this stuff, like and a lot of different systems kind of leave doors open and portals open to where this stuff can come in, and we almost have to like clean it out. So removing attachments and entities that are affecting your life, influencing you, causing you to, act in a way that you wouldn't normally act. Super, super powerful. This one, diminished violent energy. How useful is that in this world? So he gives an example of kind of like a neighborhood, and there's a lot of crime and a lot of anger and a lot of violent energy, and this ritual just kind of slowly brings that down and diffuses it, just gently like sweeps it away, and just the overall space. And you can do this for your neighborhood, you could do it for larger cities, countries, stuff like that. I would say that it's definitely more powerful the more focused and compact the radius is, but you can do this. I mean, so many different applications for just diminishing violent energy. And you'll just notice that this kind of just went away. People almost forget why they were so upset, or what they were doing, and a lot of that anger is just removed gently, very subtly. But yeah, super powerful. Protecting your home, that's another bedrock. We protect our personal being, we protect our energetic system, and then we want to protect our home. Your home is your castle. You should feel safe. You shouldn't feel like there's some sort of presence in your home, or that your home is somehow vulnerable to attack, or whether it's something spiritual, something physical. It's important to feel safe in your home, and the way that he does that. Another really cool creative ritual that I highly recommend doing, and doing it ever so often. Sometimes magic is kind of a one and done, so you do the ritual once and you get the effects for life. Sometimes it needs to be repeated a certain number of times, or a certain time frame. So finding kind of noticing when it's wearing off is a skill in itself, and when to kind of refuel and boost the intention, the ritual. So yeah, who doesn't want to protect their home? Silencing the cruel. So a lot of times in situations, there's people gossiping about you, there's people jealous about you, there's people being mean to you. And this ritual, another really, really unique, useful ritual on how to stop that, on how to just make somebody stop being so mean, stop being so cruel. Whether it's someone in your personal circle, someone that you're not really aware of, but you can kind of sense, or even online. I mean, these things are powerful in so many different ways. So another very, very useful one, charming your enemy. So sometimes if you have someone who doesn't like you, someone who's actively working against you, we have different strategies and tactics on how to deal with that. So, and this is very much on a dualistic, space, right? So this is very much on like I'm this person, they're that person, they are my enemy. And there's definitely ways to rise above that and kind of just not let it affect you. But yeah, charming your enemy, turning an enemy into a friend or someone who admires you is a very, very skillful act. A lot of times, if you meet force with force, you will only strengthen what they're trying to do and reaffirm that they don't like you, and they want bad things to happen to you, or they don't have your highest and greatest good in mind. So learning how to charm your enemy, make them like you. Instead of them being your enemy, now they're your friend and they want to help you. So that's just a very persuasive way to get rid of somebody's negative intentions. And instead of making the enemy even worse of an enemy, now they're charmed by you. They can't help but feel affection for you. And the way that he does it, with this ritual is so cool. It's essentially, going back to when your enemy was a baby, and holding that baby up and just loving that baby and just taking care of that baby. And it's kind of a time distortion, time travel ritual, but what a cool way, and that's kind of something that I think is fascinating when people come up with so many different techniques to get the same result. And we're so creative, human beings are, and I definitely think that the most powerful ritual, magic, manifestation is your personal brand, is your creative spark, whatever it is. But until we get to a point where we can kind of do these things naturally, spontaneously, we want to learn the rules, and when other people have created stuff that works really well, it's okay to use that while we develop our kind of own unique style for doing things and our own personal magic. And you get to the point where, so I've heard, you don't even have to do anything. It just happens the way that you want to happen, and problems just kind of disappear and you don't have to do any rituals. But until we get to that point, I think it's fascinating to find all these different modalities to help you on your journey towards whatever it is that you want, or whoever it is you want to be. And then the last one is something that I have used time and time again. I probably use it daily. It's a form of emergency protection. It uses Archangel Michael, and the way that the ritual is designed is you kind of go through Archangel Michael's, like his generals, like his commanders. You get familiar with the people that he kind of delegates to. So his team, right? You get very, very familiar with his team by kind of introducing yourself, going through the ritual, and then eventually it's once you've gone through the ritual a certain number of times, you can just basically say his name and it's immediately he's there. So it's kind of building a relationship, a friendship with Archangel Michael by kind of getting to know his people first. Introducing yourself, making persistently, say, hey, it's nice to meet you. This is who I am, and it builds that relationship to where once you get to the point where you can just like that, it just happens. And I've used this so many times, driving in situations where I feel uneasy, or you go into a place and there's negative vibes. It's super just amazing. So tiny little book. It talks a little bit about protecting others at the end too, about what you can do, what they have to do. Tiny book, highly recommended. As you can see, again, my copy is very, very, very used. Angelic Protection Magic by Ben Woodcroft. I'll review some of their other books in the future. They have some really, really good stuff out there, and they just seem like a cool group. It's very practical. It's very easy, and in a lot of ways there's a lot of similarities to the Gallery of Magic, but they're doing their own unique thing. So I highly recommend it. You can get it on Amazon. Again, I don't get paid for these. I'm just trying to kind of share what worked for me on my journey and the things that were valuable to me. And again, protection. Who doesn't want to be protected? Who doesn't want to feel safe? Who doesn't want to go through life without other people, other forces getting in their way and trying to trip them up or trick them or influence them or stop them from being who they are? So highly recommend it. I've used it for 5 years, and it just occurred to me I was going to do another book review, and I was like, wait a second, I need to do this one. And also we're going to start getting into more serious, complex stuff, so my goal is trying to build stuff the right way with the right foundation, things that I think are very, very safe, very not, what's the word, that aren't going to make you feel some sort of shame or guilt or fear. Once we get into other entities like demons and some of these other beings, it creates a certain feeling in a lot of people, and I'm trying to avoid that. I don't want you to feel any sort of ickiness. I don't want you to feel any sort of, oh, I don't know if this is safe kind of thing. We'll get into stuff that's a little bit more, I'm looking for a word. A little bit more, anyway, it'll come to me. So thanks for sticking around for this review. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your subscribing. Thank you for your comments, for your likes. I hope this is valuable to you. I hope you get something from it. And wherever you are, stay safe, stay blessed, and I will see you in the next one.